Hi, welcome to Roughly Drafted Magazine. I'm Daniel Eran Dilger, and this is the 10 Minutes of iPad. Number 5 is that the iPad is nothing more than a tablet PC or an Amazon Kindle. The reason for having to make it one or the other is that it gives somebody else credit for what Apple did. In 2001, Bill Gates got on stage and said everyone would be using tablet PCs in 5 years. He was wrong, and almost 10 years later, we're still not using tablet PCs, and they never caught on because they weren't something that anybody wanted to buy. So how close is the iPad to being just another tablet PC? Well, interestingly, the people that are making the claim that Bill Gates really started the ball rolling here is strange on two fronts. One is that Microsoft didn't invent tablet PCs in 2001. It was making clamshell handheld PCs, pocket PCs, and various other devices that were all based on Windows CE before in the 90s, starting in 1996. All those devices predated the tablet PC, so there was really nothing new about the tablet PC apart from the fact that it was using Windows XP instead of the Windows CE mobile kernel that Microsoft had developed. Both of those products failed. But even more interesting is the fact that well before, almost a decade before Microsoft did the tablet PC, Apple had two tablet projects underway. One was Penlight, which is basically a PowerBook, Apple's notebook computer, without a keyboard. That never was brought to market. It looked an awful lot like tablet PCs. The reason why Apple didn't bring it to market is because Apple was also working on another platform called Newton. And the Newton Message Pad was designed primarily with mobile devices in mind, tablet-type devices that you would write on with a stylus. So it blew away a lot of the desktop conventions of the macOS operating system to create something that was specifically designed to write on and to respond to handwritten recognition and finger gestures that you do with a pen. And that was floated in it was demonstrated in 1992, so that basically 10 years before tablet PC. So the idea that the iPad is just another tablet PC is off by at least a decade. On top of that, the iPad bears very little in common with tablet PC. It isn't based on a stylus tapping on 1990s desktop metaphors of Windows like the tablet PC was. It's not 2 inches thick. It can actually play real games. It doesn't have a bunch of foofy hardware like convertible things that twist around and turn into a laptop and try to be everything for everybody. It doesn't run a pantheon of Windows spyware and viruses. It doesn't really have anything to do with Windows PC. Paul Thurrott, who likes to hate on Apple, decided that the iPad was terrible because it had a margin of screen around it like the iPhone and like the MacBooks, like any other Apple product. He decided that what it really needed was a bunch of controls, especially for playing video games. So you can imagine a bunch of push buttons and joysticks and various things around the edge of it. Wouldn't that make it easier to use a multi-touch surface? That's why movies that foresee the future, like Minority Report and Avatar, they show the tablet surfaces that they're working on have Xbox 360 controls all over them. I'm being sarcastic. And again, is the iPad really following in the footsteps of Kindle? No, it's not using the same technology. It's not using the e-ink screen that looks terrible, and it responds terrible. It doesn't refresh very fast. It can't support video or color or anything else that people want to be able to do. It certainly couldn't support any sort of applications. Can't even really browse the web very well. So it's not technically similar. Its business model is unique, and it really doesn't have much in common with that, apart from the fact that, yes, it does allow you to also read books and does a better job and provides a richer variety of fonts and text sizes. You can embed video, you can embed color graphics, anything you want. It really doesn't build upon Amazon's Kindle business at all. So that's myth number 5. The iPad isn't a tablet PC. It isn't an Amazon Kindle. It doesn't bear much in resemblance to either of those two product categories. And if anything, Apple has its own history that it's building upon. The name iPad even kind of reflects the fact that it's a Newton Message Pad. Who would have thought Apple would run with that name again? But this is a brand new product category. It's really developing multi-touch as an interesting product idea. Is kind of the basis of its user interface. It's really extending this hybrid design of the iPhone operating system and the operating environment, really, and the Mac OS X conventions. Like if you look at the the iPod player. It looks a lot like iTunes, has a similar type of very familiar tools. Same thing with the iWork apps. It's Mac OS 10 without the menu bars. And we're all asking when is Apple going to modernize Mac OS 10 and bring it into the future where we don't have this menu bar from the 80s and we don't have contextual menus and all these things that are kind of based on needing a mouse pointer. Well, here they've done it. Everyone's freaking out for various reasons, but Apple's really bringing us the future, and it's difficult and scary to look at, and eventually we'll come around. For Roughly Drafted Magazine, I'm Daniel Eran Dilger. Check out my other videos on YouTube, my site at roughlydrafted.com. Post comments, join my Facebook page, Roughly Drafted, and stay interesting.